The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes' Cat, Volume 2. Written by Patricia Srigley. Chapter 1. The Savoy Grill.
Sherlock Holmes gazed across the table at his irritating dinner companion. The great detective's keen observational skills were taxed trying to read Dr. John Watson's expression. Of late, John insisted on keeping intimate company with not only an oversized ginger moustache, but an even gingerier unkempt goatee as well. The combination of disobedient scraggly strands hid most of John's mouth. As brilliant as Sherlock's mind, he could not fathom why any sane man would wish to disfigure his face with such atrocities, unless that man was in disguise, or scarred, or hideously ugly. John was not any of those things. He had a nice ordinary face, with nothing offensive about it. Well, not until the hairy newcomers took up residence. John's wife, Mary, did her utmost to ensure he keep the things trimmed, since he refused to raise them off. Alas, it was a losing battle. Like a weed, the hair could not be contained for long. It was insistent on sprouting in all directions at once, in the most rebellious manner possible. And as far as eating a meal with that disobedient moustache and goatee, as one who had witnessed the travesty, the less said about it the better. Perhaps you need a new barber, John, one who would strap you into his chair and forcibly raise off both ginger monstrosities, Sherlock mused aloud. That is not the topic of conversation, Sherlock. The topic is your latest preoccupation. You must stop obsessing over a missing cat. We have other cases to solve. Paying clients. John's eyes focused over Sherlock's shoulder on something across the room, and he might have worried his lip. It was difficult to know for the aforementioned reason. John continued. Sherlock, you may have wondered why, when we entered the Savoy Grill, I requested a table that seats 4. The Savoy Grill was the costliest eatery in all of England, in which to take a meal away from the comforts of one's own home and cook. No, John, I have not wondered about that at all. I know why we are seated at this table for 4, when there are only 2 of us. It is not merely its proximity to the wall, which I appreciate, as it means we are not entirely surrounded by tedious conversations or potential enemies. It is because you have invited Mary to join us, hoping to distract me from my melancholia. Alas, his new partner in crime-solving, who happened to be a cat, was still missing after 3 long weeks. In the dark recesses of his mind, Sherlock had concluded that misfortune had befallen Cat Watson, hence the melancholia. The valiant little cat had saved his life and helped solve a very dangerous case. Immediately thereafter, he had vanished without a trace. This table seats 4, Sherlock, John stressed, stating the obvious, as he was oft inclined to do. He even raised 4 pasty pale fingers that resembled undercooked breakfast sausages, should Sherlock need them to help him count to 4. It is not a table for 3. John lowered one of his sausage fingers, leaving 3 jutting up. He truly was beleaguering the point. Sherlock gave a little shrug, so rooted in his melancholia, he could not dredge up the energy to be further irritated by John's tedious display. Yes, John, this is a table for 4. There are many tables for 2 and 4 at this overpriced establishment, as that is most often how people group themselves when eating in public, now that women are permitted to be seated and served in such places. He did not have to glance about the room to say, aside from 8 larger group tables, there are but 2 tables that seat 3 in this entire room, and both are occupied, one by 2 parents and a grown daughter, the other by 2 parents and a grown son. Perhaps they should join forces and matchmake their offspring to get them out from under their respective roofs. But I digress. And that is why we are seated at a table for 4, because Mary will be joining us, and no table for 3 was vacant and available. It is elementary, my dear Watson. He cast a glance at the empty chair to his right, wishing Cat Watson would appear from under the table to occupy it. It doesn't happen often, but you are wrong in this case, Sherlock. This table is for 4. John's 4 fingers made another appearance. Because 4 will be dining at this table this evening. John smiled, likely in triumph. Sherlock could tell John was smiling because of how the corners of his eyes crinkled and the 14 facial muscles required to smile tightened, and would have caused an upward curving of the corners of John's mouth. In other words, a smile, though the smile itself was well hidden in the united front of invasive ginger facial hair. "Will Cat Watson be joining us?" Sherlock blurted out with uncontrolled eagerness, before he could still his tongue. He had had trouble sleeping since the cat vanished, and a sleep-deprived mind was never as sharp as a properly rested one. John's smile turned to a scowl, evidenced by how his brow furrowed so deeply. It resembled a farmer's freshly ploughed field in miniature. John was exceptionally jealous of Sherlock's new partner, despite the fact that John was the one who had abandoned Sherlock to reside with his lady wife, and to add insult to injury, she was a crime boss and criminal in her own right. "No, Sherlock, Cat Watson will not be joining us. They do not serve cats in this high-class eatery." "Well, they should. They serve women now, so they should serve cats," Sherlock stated. John deigned not to comment on that, and said, "Mary will be accompanied by a friend, a single lady who is eager to meet you." "A prostitute?" Sherlock inquired. "No," John gasped, as a shadow darkened the table in front of Sherlock. He turned his head. Being a tall man seated in a dining chair, he was nose to bosom with Mary.
I hope you enjoyed this sample of my upcoming book, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes' Cat, Volume 2. Release date, February 2024. It will be available on Amazon, as a Kindle book and as a paperback. For updates, you can follow me on Facebook, Patricia Srigley Author Artist, or on my website, srigleyarts.com.